Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's a Saturday afternoon here. It's where I live. It's cloudy. It's been snowing. It's kind of dried up now, but still pretty cold. So I hope you're maybe in some warmer weather. Maybe you live in the south somewhere, and I'm up kind of in the northern part of the country. So I want to do a video real quick, and this is a pretty important topic. I think it's something that a lot of us really wrestle with after you've dealt with a narcissist. And maybe your parents were narcissists, or a parent was, and you dealt with this for most of your life. Or you were in that dreaded narcissistic romantic relationship, which I speak about pretty frequently. It's what I primarily cover because I really believe that that is where you get that extra dose of venom right in the face. Whether that relationship lasted for just a matter of months or a matter of years, you know full well that's where you get the toxic blast right in the face. Because you're around that person every day. You see that person, at least most days, you see that person a lot. You spend a ton of time together. You are the narcissist person for a little while. Of course, their real love is always their third arm or their cell phone. That's their real love. They love, as I've talked about too, they love themselves, but not in the sense that we understand love. They're obsessed with themselves. They're the only person that matters in their life, but that does not mean they have love for themselves the way that we talk about it. As a matter of fact, and as I put in a video a few days ago, the narcissist hates themselves, and that's why they hate all the world and hate you. But this is something that people wonder about a lot. Was the narcissistic relationship a blessing or a curse? I want to talk about that here today. The first thing that I want to talk about is, did the narcissist come into your life, and in my life? Again, we're talking mainly romantic here. If you were born into a narcissistic household, they didn't come into your life, you were born with that. And that presents its own set of problems, believe me. And there are parallels there between the narcissistic parent and the narcissist that might be in a romantic relationship, because they all act the same fundamentally. They have different personalities, but they all have the same characteristics. And that is of their father, the devil. But was the narcissistic relationship a blessing or a curse? Well, first thing to notice is, did God bring the narcissist into your life? Let me read a couple things here. I'm going to read several verses here of Scripture throughout the course of this video, but I want to start with one. And this is just one example. There could be many. It's not a proof text. It's consistent throughout Scripture. But here is James 1:13. And James says, "When tempted, no one should say, 'God is tempting me.' For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone." So, did God bring the narcissist into your life? There's a lot of confusion about this. Trials and tribulations in general, people get confused about this, but the narcissist is one such example. Because guys, the narcissist is nothing if not one giant trial, tribulation, and temptation. That's what they are, fundamentally. They come into your life and they represent one gigantic trial. So very clearly, as we read, and as it's elsewhere in Scripture, did God bring that into your life? The temptation part of it, temptation to sin, temptation to go off the rails, to do what you're not supposed to do, that's the narcissist. That's what they do to you. Did God bring them into your life? It says clearly, God is not tempting anyone. God is not tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone to do evil. So when the narcissist came into your life, and you no doubt did things and said things with that person that you would never have normally done, because they drive you to that. They make you act out of character for 1,000 different reasons. But did God will that for your life? Did he want you to go off the rails for a period of time? Or to start walking down the path of darkness? No, he didn't. No. God does not tempt people to do evil. God hates sin. So he's not going to tempt you into sinning when he hates sin. God sent his Son ultimately to destroy sin. God is not the author of sin, nor does he tempt anyone to sin. So if you think for a second that, well, God sent me this narcissist. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. So if God didn't send the narcissist, who did? I think you know the answer to that. As I say this all the time, narcissism is a spiritual disorder, and narcissism is evil. So who is the author of evil, and who sends evil and sin and temptation, and not sin, but temptation to sin into people's lives? Satan. Let me tell you guys what the narcissist really is. And I discovered this right after I finally cut the ties with the one that I was with. And I finally discovered, not that they were a narcissist per se, that came later, but when I finally knew this person was so toxic, one of the first things that occurred to me was that that person was sent into my life to destroy me. And I do mean to destroy me. Spiritually, mentally, even maybe physically. So what they really are, they're a trap. The narcissist is a giant trap. They masquerade as angels of light, and they look so good, and they look so appealing, and you are their everything, and they're the greatest person you could ever hope to meet in your life. And it's all a trap. The narcissist is a trap. It's what they are. So what they really are, as I like to call them, is the satanic wind-up toys. Yes, they're satanic foot soldiers, that's what they are, but Satan uses them as wind-up toys. He targets people who know the living God, who are sons and daughters of God, and he finds this narcissist, and he winds them up, and he gives them a little scoot, and they stagger right in to your line of vision. And they stagger right into your life. And the idea is that once that wind-up toy comes into your life and you pick it up, oh, precious wind-up toy, blows up. You might say they're a Trojan horse, they're a wind-up toy, they're a trap. Whatever you want to call it, that's what the narcissist is. Now, you might note they end up in their lives with a ton of people who aren't believers, who aren't people of the light. And that's true. Because the narcissist fundamentally will destroy anybody in their path. They are, as I mention on here frequently, they are a walking vortex of evil. This is what the narcissist does throughout their lives. All throughout the world. And anybody who gets close enough gets sucked in. They destroy anything and everything that gets close to them. They're a walking vortex. Believe it. That is all that they really are, fundamentally. They are on assignment from Satan to do one thing: destroy. They prefer to do that to someone of the light, but they will do that to a whole bunch of people along the way, because you don't often meet really good, kind, caring, loving, compassionate people of God. We don't meet people like that very often, do we? Are they just out there around every corner? No, they're not. We're not. And the narcissist doesn't meet those people all the time either. But they are on assignment to find those people and to destroy them. And along the way, they'll destroy everybody else in their path. So, here's the point. God did not send you the narcissist. Satan sent you the narcissist. And our own desires, our own flesh, our carnality, if we have not really been cleansed, or we still have cleansing left to do, or we're just flatly thinking that this is a good person that it'd be nice to share our lives with. Whatever the reasons are, they were a trap for us. And they tricked us and fooled us for a season. Satan sent them into our lives to destroy us. So the question is about this video: is the narcissist a blessing or a curse? Was that relationship a blessing or a curse? So I'm going to go ahead and answer the question, and then I'm going to talk about it for a minute. The answer is the narcissist could be either one. The narcissist either will be a great blessing for you, or it will be a great curse for you. And it depends on how you respond and how I responded to the narcissist. So let me read another passage here. Romans 8:28, Paul says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." In all things God works for the good of those who love him. Now, does this passage mean, as many errantly believe, that God makes bad things happen so that good things or greater things can come out of them? No, it's not what it means. It means that in any situation, even an evil situation, even in the narcissistic situation, God can take that evil that he did not cause, that happened by our own flesh and by satanic influence. He can take even those occurrences and he can still work some good in them. That's what it means. So this gets to the point. And I think I have another passage here that I wanted to read. Yeah, maybe I'll save that here. Maybe I'll get to it. Maybe I won't. But the question is the narcissist a blessing or a curse? And the answer is that, yes, the narcissist is either one, depending on what you do with it. You see, a lot of people meet the narcissist, and they blow through their lives, and they wreck them, and they destroy them, and they leave them shriveled up, sucking their thumbs in the corner, crying and wishing to God they knew what happened. A lot of us end up that way, some way worse than others. A lot of people, though, are not equipped spiritually going into a relationship, and they never do get spiritually equipped after the relationship to see it for what it really was. In other words, they don't figure it out. There are people who just flatly never figure out what this person was at all. They just know they were dark. They destroyed me. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But they're left maybe forever. And I actually know people like this. You might too. That they never understood. They never got the knowledge because they're not spiritually inclined to do so. They never understood. 15 years later, they're still scratching their heads sometimes saying, what happened? What was that? Who was that person? Who behaves that way? Man, I like to thought I would never get out of that relationship. And I still can't wrap my mind around it. It's been 7 or 8 years. And I'm not making fun of anybody who has that. By no means. I feel terrible if you never understand what this is. Because it'll drive you crazy probably the rest of your life. Narcissists, as I detailed in my last video, drive people to suicide. Narcissists drive people crazy. Narcissists land people in jail. Narcissists leave you sucking your thumb the rest of your life. They can do all those things. So some people never figure it out. So for those people, was the narcissistic relationship a blessing or a curse? I think you know the answer to that. Were their lives worse off because of the narcissist forever? Yes, they were. They took them down and they never figured it out and they never came back. If they're still walking this planet, they never came back out of it. So the narcissistic relationship was a curse for those people. Then there are people who I think probably fall in the middle. They don't necessarily figure out the person was a narcissist and they don't get the education, but they had the wherewithal to at least understand it was really bad and they had to get out. Even if they were discarded, whether they got out or they were discarded, they at least wised up enough to say that person was absolutely toxic. And they took me down for a time And maybe I still have residual scars and things from that. Maybe I never figure it out completely. And maybe some part of me still pines for them a little bit. Again, this is not me. This is that group that deals with the narcissist. But they didn't get left sucking their thumbs the rest of their lives. Yet they also didn't totally figure it out either. Somewhere in between. It didn't take them down for the count, but it also left them in kind of a wobbly, confused state maybe for the rest of their lives, or at least every time they think about it. Was that a blessing or a curse? I guess I would call that probably still a curse. Because they didn't really come full circle. What they didn't do from it is grow at all. So anything the narcissist did was a negative in their lives, and there wasn't really a positive, except for the fact that they're no longer suffering the torment of the narcissist. So do you see what I'm saying? There's that first group that is left sucking their thumbs and bewildered the rest of their lives, and maybe they never even come out of it. Then there's that other group, middle, that didn't figure it out. It didn't take them down for the count, but they also didn't gain anything positive from it at all. So I'd say it's definitely a curse for the first group. It's mildly a curse for the group in the middle. And yet there is one more group. And I hope this is you. If it's not, I want to tell you that it can be you. And I'll tell you that it was me and is me. And it's a lot of people out there. The third group gets beaten up, put down, criticized, devalued, triangulated, gaslit, stomped on, and they're left scratching their head and wondering what the heck's going on. And they're in the spell like everyone else is, the trauma bond. I call it the narcissistic spell, because that's what it is. It's a spell, really. If you think about it, that's really what it is. And it's hard to get out of it. But certain people, some of us, are given the knowledge because we came to God. We either knew God before that, and He saved us from it, or we came to know God after that. Whatever the case is, we went to God, and the light of Christ gave us the truth. It happened for me one day. I literally woke up a couple of months after I ended things, and narcissism just started popping up out of nowhere. On my social media feed, I immediately found it on YouTube channels. It's like God just said, Ryan, narcissism. And I started looking, and all the light bulbs went off, and all the puzzle pieces started to connect, and it was miraculous. And ever since then, I've come to understand more and more and more about it. And you know what you do when you come to understand what narcissism is and what that relationship was? And that was a trap. And it was a satanic wind-up toy who was sent your way to blow you up and extinguish your light and put you in dirt, spiritually and physically. But when you come to realize that, and God saves you from it, and He gives you the knowledge and understanding, what you realize then is that there is a third way. Not the way that leaves you hiding in the dark and sucking your thumb the rest of your life. Not the way that leaves you with nothing but negative from it. But there's a way that says the narcissistic relationship was a blessing. It's a blessing. How much did you learn from the narcissistic relationship? When you fully heal and you get the knowledge and understanding, and especially if you go to Christ, who will save you and heal you from all this and give you all the knowledge and wisdom, not just about the narcissist, but about evil, about life, death, the purpose of everything. When you go to God, you get these things. Especially when you go to God, you get these things. And then he tells you, you know what? This was actually a blessing. Because before this happened, you did not know how valuable you really are. You didn't know what you brought to the table. That someone from the opposite sex ought to be thrilled to have you in their lives. That you're beyond good enough. Especially if you have the light of Christ. If you don't, you're still valuable, but I urge you to seek Christ. That's what makes a man, a woman, a woman. That's what makes you find your peace, your contentment, your purpose in this life and in the life of the world to come. The value that you have, I didn't understand it. I didn't realize it. So I was, if you want to call it dating down, it wasn't because the person wasn't good enough, attractive enough, the job wasn't good enough. No. They weren't good enough because they're a narcissist. And they're evil. And they don't reciprocate love, and they don't care for you at all, much less the way you care for them. And they can't, and they never ever will. And they'll cheat on you. And they'll go behind your back in 1,000 ways, and they'll manipulate you. And they'll criticize you. They're not good enough, not even by a landslide, yet you were in the relationship with them because you didn't really know your value. Now you do. You use that opportunity to understand your value is sky high. That's a great thing. You also understand the nature of evil a lot better, because when you guys are understanding, when you understand the narcissist, the nature of the narcissist evil, you understand Satan, because they're mirror images of each other. To see the narcissist and to understand their characteristics is to understand the characteristics of the devil, and vice versa. You have a greater idea of who your enemy is and who our enemy is. You also have the awareness that narcissistic people are everywhere, that this is an epidemic that is exploding in our time. You didn't know that before. I didn't know that. Yeah, I knew evil exists. Sure I did, of course. But I didn't know the extent to which it exists, and I didn't have a name for it. I didn't have a name to encapsulate these characteristics and patterns of evil behavior. Now we do. Narcissism. And you also probably had other things you needed to work on. Some more than others. But you didn't know your value, like I said. But you also maybe let people get away with too much. Too over-the-top forgiving. Not just forgiving, but putting up with nonsense. Sinful, evil behavior. Maybe you were loyal to a fault to the point where people ran over top of you, because that's what the narcissist did. Did we stop them? Eventually, hopefully. Maybe you got discarded, but maybe you stopped it and you figured it out. But there are so many things that you realize are a blessing. And after you finally get out of that relationship and you have to go and be alone and isolate and heal, which is what I did, which is what I think we all do. You can't get far enough away from the world, long enough. All I wanted to do was walk and talk to God. Get away from everything. I just wanted to be completely alone for months and months and months with God. And that's how you heal. That's how you really heal. If anyone out there is struggling, I just can't quite shake this. That's how it's done. If you haven't gone to God in isolation and healed and let Him, the great therapist, heal you, you're missing out. Even if you think you're in a good place and you've never done that, you are missing out. I promise you, and I want that for you, everybody. So, there are many blessings to this. If you come out of it and you get the right understanding, you realize I am stronger now than I ever was before the narcissist. Satan sent me a wind-up toy to destroy my life, and all he actually ended up doing was making me stronger. Because God took this occasion that the narcissist brought to your life and Satan brought to your life, and he took this occasion and he swooped in, if you allow him, if you go to him, and he says, I'm gonna make this tragedy, this trial that is miserable and unspeakable, one of the worst things you've ever been through. I'm going to take this and I'm going to make it one of the best things you've ever been through. And you're going to be stronger than you ever have. And you're going to know the living God better than you ever have. And your salvation is going to be secure. And you're going to read people. That's another thing. You can read people now very quickly. I'm not saying everyone is a narcissist, though it's really prominent. I can spot these people in the blink of an eye anymore. Whether I'm at a workplace, whether I'm in public, whether it's acquaintances, you can tell very quickly if a person's toxic once you get the understanding. The narcissist did you a favor in that sense. Even though they were trying to destroy you, God did you a favor. He didn't bring the narcissist, but he did bring good out of it. So, was it a blessing or a curse? The narcissistic relationship? Guys, that depends on you. It depends on how you responded and what you sought to get out of it. Did you go in a shell? Did you let them turn you into a victim like themselves and destroy you and take away your value and your worth? Or did you figure it out and did you go to the throne? Did you go to God and let him heal you? Because if you did that, I can promise you, and drop comments if this is you. Drop comments no matter what you think of this. Love to hear from you. So would everybody who's in the narcissistic community. If you went to God, especially, you understand, not only are you healed, or at least on your way, you are stronger than you ever were, and maybe than you ever thought possible. So I can only speak for myself. The narcissistic relationship was a blessing. It so easily could have been a curse, and for a while it was. But God took that curse and he said, no, son, it's a blessing. I've got a lot to show you through this process. So guys, I hope it's you. I hope that's your story. If it's not, just know that the narcissistic relationship can be a blessing for you. It can, and I want that for you. Go to God. So I'm going to wrap it up right there. This has been a long video and I ranted a lot. Didn't intend it to be anywhere near this long. But I hope that it means something to you. And I hope you take my words to heart and understand that in your life, it can be a blessing. It's got to be, though, your decision. It's what you make of it. So thanks a lot, guys. I'll be back here again soon. Drop comments. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I do have other things. If you put my name into search browsers and things, you will see books and other things that I work on. And I appreciate if you take a look at those as well if you think they'll help you. So anyway, until next time, God bless.